What a great year to be a Shantae fan. Not only did we see physical releases for all Shantae games, but the soundtracks as well. Going back a year and a half when I first started playing through the series, starting with the original Game Boy Color Shantae, I was instantly hooked. When I started playing Risky's Revenge is when I learned about the Kickstarter campaign for this most recent release. Sadly, I'd long missed it. I actually emailed WayForward hoping there was some way I could possibly get in on it, but it was too late. Way too late. I continued on to Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, and my love for the series went critical. So far, it's elevated itself to my favorite platforming series. Now the time has come. Shantae Half-Genie Hero has finally been released to the world. Will this one live up to a fanboy's hype? Let's find out. Church here, and welcome to the Game Grinder. Today we'll be reviewing
Shantae, Half-Genie Hero.
Shantae Half-Genie Hero was launched on the Kickstarter crowdfunding website in October of 2013 with an initial goal of $400,000. The campaign ended in December with near double its goal with a multitude of stretch goals unlocked. Half-Genie Hero was initially slated for an October 2014 release, but was pushed back until 2016 for the extra development of the stretch goals. Nearing its September 2016 release, the game was pushed back and finally released in December of 2016 on PC, PS4, PS Vita, and Wii U. I picked up the game on all platforms and played the PC version via Steam. Late one night, sometime after the events of those from the previous adventure, Shantae wakes to a strange sound from within her lighthouse. She heads outside and continues to follow the possible voice. Within a hidden chamber in her uncle's workshop, she discovers a genie spirit with a warning of grave danger. Only time will tell what evil threatens Sequinland once again. So right off the Tinkerbat, and before jumping into the meat and potatoes of this review, I'm going to talk about the most notable change going into Shantae Half-Genie Hero compared to all previous releases. Its art style. Shantae, starting from the original release through Pirate's Curse, were all impressively animated pixel art focused games. Each release stepping up their quality and adding more refinement, animation, and characters to everything within. I was curious to where things would go from here, and in all honesty was a little dismayed when I saw that they were moving away from the pixel art for a more traditionally animated look. Not what a Shantae fan had hoped for, but I had absolute faith in Matt Bozon and the WayForward team. After looking into the development more, I learned that Mariel Cartwright was brought on as lead animator, most well known for her amazing animation style from the fighting game Skullgirls, as well as the game I was able to back in crowdfunding but not yet released, Indivisible. With her, Matt Bozon, and the returning collaboration from Inti Creates, and particularly Makoto Yabe, as well as the rest of the WayForward team, I knew this was going to be something special. Yeah, and Shantae Half-Genie Hero is just that. This game is absolutely beautiful. If there was ever any art style the game could have made the move to, I don't see how anything else could have possibly been a better result. Character animations are gorgeous, fluid, and more animated than ever. I shouldn't be surprised at all about the amount of details included with each character, but they seriously exceeded my expectations. I think the ability to have more detail with a hand-drawn art style makes the characters much more in tune with their character portraits, and really harnessing the art style that Matt Bozon, his wife Emily, WayForward, Makoto Yabe, and Mariel Cartwright have seriously crafted to a perfection at this point. It's welcome to see that no compromises were taken with the jiggle factor too. Definitely some blatant tongue-in-cheek sexuality going on, though purposeful, I think still retains its innocence. It's there, but it's not objectified. Not only are the character animations that much more, the backgrounds are each a piece of art in their own right. I cannot possibly express in better words how much I love this game's look. Bravo, absolutely bravo to all illustrators, animators, and artists who worked on this. There's so many little things added that just make this game such a pleasurable visual experience. From Shantae's hair swinging, the difference in her stances depending on health, seeing the excitement on her and Sky's faces when flying on Wrench, and even the enemies too. Not only that, there's a lot of great character portraits added to liven up the personalities of each as well. So many little things that brought so much to the table that wasn't possible with the pixel art style. I could really go into detail here about how animated the characters are, but look at Shantae and Roddy Tops here as an example. Almost every bit of them has movement as they perform their usual idle animations. The Scuttletown townsfolk too. How about when Shantae is climbing this chain? Notice how it sways behind her? What about this green dude? Check out his face as he shoots out his spikes. Like I said, I shouldn't be surprised at all, but I'm giving credit where it's due. Let's jump into the gameplay then. Half-Genie Hero plays exactly as a Shantae fan has come to know and love. For those who might not know, or haven't seen my previous reviews, Shantae has been, and remains in my opinion, one of the best platforming game series around. Not only for the design and stories involved, but the controls are spot on. Never will you be able to blame the controls for a flub, it's all on us. That feels pretty great for a game that puts us into a ton of different situations to make best use of our skills. The basics are all there: running, jumping, and ducking. Once again, Shantae will make use of her ponytail as a whip to mainly deal with enemies. The only purchased ability that carries over from previous games is the backdash. No complaints there, as I never really made use of the kick or elbow dash, and honestly I never used the backdash either. It's a nice option for those who want to make use of it for a quick escape from some damage. I was really most curious to how they were going to handle Shantae's genie powers, since Pirate's Curse had some very different gameplay elements with her lack of powers, making use of risky boots as items instead. It not only makes sense that the dance transformations made a comeback, and comeback they sure did. Not only are the transformations included from Risky's Revenge, but also the original game as well as the new ones. It's crazy how many there are in Half-Genie Hero. We have the previous staples: the monkey with the bullet dash, the crab and its claw attack, a bat with sonar, elephant with its dash and stomp, the mermaid with a bubble blast and a waterfall climb, spider with a webhook for climbing and a venom attack, the tiny mouse with a serious bite attack, the harpy with its harpy talon, and a few others for more optional fun. There's the magic jug that will create gems, a dryad that creates fruit for health, and a blobfish for, well, I don't know if it's for anything besides a good laugh. On top of all the transformations, Shantae has a couple other dance powers up her sleeve. There's a handy warp dance that will teleport her to the next area level, and a powerful screen clearing magic blast. So much variety, and the main transformations will be used throughout the entire game, mixing up a lot of the gameplay as we progress through. Each of these are animated with as much detail as anything else in the game, and gives a lot of play options when encountering some of the obstacles we'll encounter. The main transformative dances are discovered after clearing a stage, where we'll be teleported to the Genie realm to unlock them. This is one of my only complaints about the game. I really liked how the Genie power acquisition was incorporated in Risky's Revenge, where Shantae would find a Genie fountain to gain her powers, but it was part of a stage, where this just randomly puts Shantae in the area and gives her said powers. I would have liked to see this included in the levels instead, but honestly, this doesn't detract from the game at all, and is a nitpick more than anything. Besides the returning dances, magic spells return as well. My favorite go-to Pikeball returns, which again is upgradable, but this time to a Wicked Scimitar shield. There's also the Fireball, Thunderbolt, and Magic Bubble, all which are upgradable. I think the Magic Bubble's max level of invincibility shield is a bit much though. Added with the upgradable gear for Shantae that reduces magic usage and damage received, as well as the shampoo and conditioner, Shantae can be quite the beast pretty quickly. This is all for good reason. Shantae Half-Genie Hero will present some challenge, but is pretty manageable with a nice stock of potions. Much like the previous two games, enemies can easily be dealt with when taking our time through the levels, and bosses require the go-to pattern recognition. To be expected, there's a great variety of enemies we'll encounter through each area we visit. Many series staples return, as well as plenty of new additions. It's definitely worth mentioning that during the Kickstarter campaign, one tier gave a few people a chance to design some characters for the game, and I think they turned out pretty awesome and were seamless additions to the game. Bosses have stepped it up a notch as well. Not only are they bigger than ever, but there's mini bosses around many turns. Besides the dangerous creatures of Sequin Land, the environments pose a challenge as well. It only makes sense for a platformer to have a lot of platforming, and as I mentioned before, the Shantae series has this in stride. One element I especially loved is how Half-Genie Hero blends exploration of great heights as well as depths, where past games kinda had one or the other. Not only that, but oftentimes there will be challenge areas that will put our abilities to the test. And not only that, much like Pirate's Curse, towards the end there will be a trials type area that are a blast to go through. With all this pushing our gameplay to comfortable limits, the health and death system is very forgiving. If you've played Pirate's Curse, you know exactly how it works. Hearts are health, we get quarter segments for damage. -1 damage takes a quarter heart, or so on. Potions will be automatically used when necessary. Falling in pits, hitting spikes, or crossing over a laser will lead to a death of sorts, but will just restart the last area transition. Don't worry about saving, because you'll have plenty of opportunity, and perhaps even more than necessary. Between every area of every level we'll be asked if we want to save. It's a bit much, but saving is super quick, so it's barely any interruption, and doubles as a loading screen. Just like previous entries, Scuttletown acts as our main hub for the game's areas. Here we'll be able to talk to Mimic, Bolo, Sky, Mayor, and an assortment of townsfolk who will all be involved in progressing the story or giving hints to some of the items that we'll find in certain areas. When progressing through the game, each area will have a lot of hidden items and powers to find. We won't be able to get everything the first time through, as some of the powers we earn later will allow us to revisit sections to get said items. Personally, this has been one of the parts of the Shantae games I've enjoyed quite a bit. It's a great way to encourage revisiting areas, not only to find these extra story progressing items, but to acquire more gems for the various upgrades. Of course, the shop is the place to be for upgrades, the bathhouse refills health and magic, and there's an art gallery. This is a neat inclusion not only for the keys that we find to open doors to view concept art from the game's development, but there's also a couple pretty large sets of galleries of backer-included art. Some of this ranges from fantastically designed fan art to some younger child entries to everything in between. Very neat to see some more fan involvement with the game, and since it was a reward level, we'll see a wide artistic range. Besides Kickstarter backer included enemy designs and artwork, it's also worth mentioning that a few design choices were voted on, and I think this is really cool that so much involvement was given to the community, and I'm truly saddened I missed the opportunity. A couple choices were how the crab form ended up, and Roddy Tops has an additional costume she wears as part of a pit crew that was chosen by backers. The Shantae games have become popular games to perform speedruns with, and this game appears to set itself up to be another. Besides some time-focused achievements to earn, there's a pretty nice assortment of achievements that add extra goals for anyone who's interested. It wouldn't be a Shantae game without additional game modes after completion. At the time of this review, upon completion of the main story, we can unlock Hero Mode, which allows us to replay the game starting with the main transformation dances. It appears that there will be a Risky Boots mode, which isn't available yet, but I'm pretty excited for. Let's move on to some story discussion. I won't go into great detail here, but there will be some spoilers, so if you'd like to skip ahead, click on the annotation or skip ahead to the time listed. Let's move on then. After the initial events from the game's opening, Shantae visits her Uncle Mimic, where he wants to show off his latest invention only to find a Tinkerbat has stolen the plans, and Risky Boots begin to siege upon the town. Giving chase, Shantae will eventually catch up and face off with Risky Boots upon her latest pirate ship. Retrieving the blueprints and returning them to Mimic will then begin the bulk of our adventure, scouring the corners of Sequinland for needed parts, all while providing assistance to Scuttletown townsfolk and others we'll encounter along the way. It wouldn't be a Shantae game if the mayor didn't fire Shantae as town protector, so with that, he puts out a job posting for a new genie. Cue the new genie protector, Holly. From here, we'll spend a chunk of the game hunting for clues to locations of parts needed by Mimic and each event that pops up between each new level. We'll meet a maiden in distress regarding other disappearing maidens, which involves mermaids and the Techno Baron. Later, townsfolk's memories disappear, Holly is nowhere to be found, and we'll find a map to a long-destroyed Tassel Town. We'll also encounter Roddy Tops, who wants to go to the Cape Crustacean race, and after finding tickets, learn there's a plot to steal magic carpets from racers. Oddly enough, Twitch and Vinegar, the Ammo Baron's soldiers, have been hanging around. We'll have another run-in with a Hypno Baron who sounds to be plotting the release of a great evil upon the world. Even the Squid Baron has a chance to show up. During our side quests, we'll meet a slew of new characters to lend aid with more opportunities for humorous interactions. When all is said and done, Uncle Mimic's machine goes haywire and releases a stream of dark magic that reverses Shantae's genie powers. Surprise! It's Risky Boots. She then steals the machine and leaves Shantae under the influence of the dark magic. We also learn the plan all along was for Risky to use this device to reverse the magic of the entire genie realm. Now it's up to Shantae's friends to save her, then she can put a stop to Risky's latest scheme. As I've come to expect, Shantae Half-Genie Hero had an absolutely fantastic story. The thing I've really grown to love about these games is not how in-depth the story has to be, but it's thoughtful enough to keep us guessing at what's going to happen next, all while keeping things new compared to what's been done before. I will admit I was a bit disappointed with Holly. Her plotline was barely one at that. I don't know if this had to do with not hitting further stretch goals in the Kickstarter campaign, but with the lack of presence in this game, I really hope to see more done with her in the future. I also would have liked to see more happen with Risky Boots, and this I know was cut short with the lack of these extra goals. The Dark Shantae stuff definitely needs more involvement, but this perhaps is something we'll see in what I hope to be a future sequel if nothing else. For what it is, I'm not really complaining in regards to the game's quality. Top-notch stuff, seriously. But being so tied in with community funding only allows to do so much. For what we got, considering funding, the game's price, and the sheer quality behind the product, these are things I really had to reach for, but nothing's perfect. One last spoilery mention that I just have to point out is how in a battle with Risky, most of her skills were those we made use of in Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Just another thing I love to see. So on to its overall presentation. I've covered my thoughts on its design and animation for the most part, a little more in regards to the levels then. This series has always excelled not only with incredible tight gameplay, but the level designs are superb. With Half-Genie Hero having the most elements of previous games, there's a lot to see. Every level in the game does something in some way different than the rest, even if just little additional mechanics, but as always, shows the effort put forth. Most levels are divided up into sections, with the first two parts being traversal and the last being the boss section. Besides more standard traversal, there's plenty of more unique situations as well, from the slide levels, a carpet race, death-defying obstacle courses, and a welcomed returning section from Risky's Revenge, the side-scrolling shoot-'em-up section. Another neat bit worth mentioning is after the initial run-through of a level, returning always has some elements changed up. Really, it's the little stuff that just stands out so much to me. Lastly, but definitely not least, is another one of my favorite things about the Shantae series, and you know it, the music. Series staple, and one of my favorite composers, Jake Kaufman, returns. Just off the Shantae series alone, add on the fact that he composed Shovel Knight as well, you know this is going to be great. Thus far, we've seen the sequels have plenty of new music, but oftentimes there are many songs remixed to fit a new style for each game. And that was something I was excited to hear what he was going to do with this new installment, especially considering the graphical changes. Just like the choice of the art style, I think Jake Kaufman hit the nail on the head with this musical style for Half-Genie Hero. The best way I could describe this compared to previous games, Risky's Revenge and Pirate's Curse especially, they had more of a chiptune electronic sound, though orchestrated as well, with lots of groove and beats to go along with the running themes, and Half-Genie Hero, while still with those principles in mind, uses more real instrument sounds, much like more of the main themes and boss themes from previous games, just with every song in this one. I was especially surprised with how few songs got new remixes, and much like the change in art style, only makes sense to elevate this game higher in terms of quality and care given. We have some remixed character themes, and I'm very glad Burning Town got a remix, but everything else is brand new and fits perfectly into the series. Absolutely fantastic. Need I say more? I have no shame in my adoration for the series, and Shantae Half-Genie Hero keeps that love alive. If this game had continued on in the same style as Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, I'd have loved it. But with the change in art style, I think it's less of a comparison, but an evolution. I think it's not about possibly enjoying the series more than I already do, because I think it's at its peak. Now it's about maintaining that passion, and Shantae Half-Genie Hero has no problems doing that. With its beautiful animation and art, in-depth and precision gameplay, humor that seems to hit my funny bone in all the right ways, and incredible music to pull it all together, much like the previous releases, I couldn't possibly recommend Shantae Half-Genie Hero more than I already recommend the previous releases. I've played through both available modes to 100% already. Seriously, if you haven't yet, go back and start with Risky's Revenge. The original Shantae is fantastic, but Risky's Revenge is an easier start. Seeing the enhancements over time, development of characters, running gags, and throwbacks really adds so much to the series. I hope there's enough support to keep it going, because I cannot wait for more. Thanks for checking out my review of Shantae Half-Genie Hero. What were your thoughts on the game? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked what you've seen or heard, please give the video a like, a share, and subscribe to see future videos. I'm on Twitter and Facebook as well, and post a lot of other great game-related content there, and of course links are in the description. Until next time on the Game Grinder.